Hi, everyone. Welcome to Star Wars Talk here at laughingplace.com. I'm Rebekah Mosley, co-founder of Laughing Place, and with me, as always, is our Star Wars editorial content director, Mike Celestino. Hey, Mike.
Hi, I just realized that you're wearing a Star Wars shirt and I'm not, but I do have a Star Wars hat on, so it's probably close enough.
Okay, yeah, this is my BB-8 shirt. I love my BB-8 shirt. It's so comfy. So I threw that on this morning. But
Cool.
yeah, lots of fun stuff going on this week. Not quite as many like individual announcements, but a lot happened with the Hasbro Con and then
Yeah.
lots of other things like that. So we've got some fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah, so me and Benji did I think it was probably like an hour breakdown of PulseCon and all the announcements that came out of that, both from Star Wars and Marvel. But I thought it would be fun if we just went through it again and like talked about what our favorite stuff was between you and me.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I'm
was
first.
actually I was actually watching that stream. You guys went on for what, about 40 minutes, and
Okay.
it's quite a fun variety. What I enjoyed about it is it's quite a fun variety of materials. It's not like we'll get into the unique holiday offerings that are coming, because I thought that it's a different type of Star Wars merchandise than I'm used to seeing.
Absolutely, yeah. But the stuff that I was most excited about was the probably the Mandalorian things that got announced. The first of which being the armorer there you can see on the left,
It's really
um,
beautiful.
getting the Black Series treatment, and then you had some new vintage collection figures. Most of these are from the prequels, and then there's one Tie Fighter pilot.
Is this packaging with the Kenner branding on it and whatnot? Is that something that they've been that's been happening throughout the whole run of Star Wars toys, or is this kind of a flashback to?
It's a throwback, I guess, to the early '80s stuff. But this is, I think, par for the course for this thing they're calling the vintage collection now, which is basically when they do 3 3/4 inch figures, which is the scale of the original Star Wars figures that came out in the late '70s and early to mid '80s.
So these
Um,
are the ones that you can put inside your Millennium Falcon. You can put inside your Star Speeder. Uh,
yeah,
or what do they don't have an ITS yet, but they do have the shuttle, the transport, right? The prisoner transport. You can get that over at the parks and
I
put
don't
your.
think that was a Hasbro. I don't think Hasbro did that one for the parks. Unless I'm mistaken, I think that was Disney on its
Disney
own.
themselves.
Yeah.
But I
But
but I was able to put my Hasbro, well, I'm sorry, my cereal box figure in it. So at least
sure.
at least he works with it.
It's probably the same scale. Yeah, you're probably. I don't have that. I would like to get that, but I don't have it yet. That
That was one
troop
of my
transport.
son's must buys. So
Yeah, it is cool. I'm not sure if Hasbro has done anything from Galaxy's Edge yet. Lego has now with the ITS shuttle, and they have had like park stuff that I think came straight through Disney.
yeah, uh, that Millennium Falcon looks amazing. But
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
I'm talking about something totally different than what's on screen. But
no,
these are
you're right. That is Hasbro though. No, I just realized I misspoke because they did put out that Target exclusive giant Millennium Falcon from Galaxy's Edge, and it comes with Hondo and Chewbacca and the Porg. So yeah, that is totally a Galaxy's Edge tie-in toy.
and it's cool because it actually is going to it's going to bridge both, because it has a switch where you can have like classic sounds, or you can go Galaxy's Edge sounds with Hondo and whatnot. But
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'll get back on track.
that's fine.
The we have battle droids.
Yeah.
Which of these is do you think is going to find its way to the Celestino collection? Any in
Well,
particular?
so I have so many of these 3 3/4 inch scale figures from. I actually don't have many of the original ones that came out in the 70s and 80s, but I have a bunch from the mid 90s through like 2005. That decade, I bought like hundreds of them, and they're all in a box somewhere. So I'm not collecting that scale anymore, unless
Okay.
they're like either given to me or sent to me for some reason. So I focus now on the Black Series, which is the larger scale of 6 inch figures that we'll get to in a bit. So I wouldn't buy any of these for myself. And if I were buying them, I also don't collect prequel stuff, but
Gotcha.
I'd probably get the TIE Fighter pilot, though I do have a TIE Fighter pilot, probably I think more than one in
Did you
that scale already.
did you notice any of these 3 1/4 getting any particular bump of love in the Twitterverse at all?
I don't think these were among the ones that really took off that people were
Buzzworthy.
talking about, to my
Okay,
recollection. I think a lot of them have been released before in that scale, and
gotcha.
yeah, I don't think people were. There are
Buzzing.
some coming up, like this Dark Ray. People went nuts. That's probably one of our most engaged tweets this month. Is this Dark Side Ray when I tweeted that out?
It,
And
it's an
go ahead.
impressive figure.
Yeah, and this is just like a CG rendering of what it's going to look like. They haven't actually made it yet, but people have been asking for this. I think since the movie. I think since the D23 Expo trailer last year, when they first saw this version of Rey, people have wanted the action figure. So finally, they're going to get it. I think it comes out in the spring of next year, but it's cool. It's got the folding out double bladed lightsaber. I saw some people asking why they didn't have her mouth open so you can see
Okay,
her like pointy teeth.
that's what I was going to ask you. Did that actually happen in the film, or was that
Yes.
one of those things? I was trying to remember if that was one of those things where we'd seen it like teased before, but then it didn't actually find its way to the film. So I was trying to remember. I figured I'd ask you.
Pretty
But
sure that's in the movie. Yeah.
which would you go with? Would you go with the closed mouth, kind of the intense stare, or would you want that menacing Palpatine type
Yeah.
grill?
Well, I would think for this version of that character, you would want to work in as many things that are unique to this version. So yeah, I would definitely want to put in the teeth as well. Also, you could do what they do with a lot of action figures, which is have like a removable head and a replaceable different head with her mouth open or whatever. I think that would be
That would
pretty
be
cool too.
that would be cool if it could kind of fit whatever mood you're in that day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so now we're in
And
the
then
Black Series scale, the 6-inch figures, and this is the another look at the armorer from the Mandalorian, which I'm definitely gonna get. Definitely want to pick that one up.
that's some beautifully done. Wow.
Yeah, and it comes in that nice collector box there.
Oh, Jar Jar.
And then yeah, the first time ever that Jar Jar is in the 6-inch scale Black Series, so people did respond really well to that one. And I think I have to keep getting reminded that we're in the era of people who grew up on the prequels are now adults and want
Right.
these figures. So I'm not the biggest fan of Jar Jar, but I really have to admit that that figure looks fantastic and is so well designed and painted, and that shield is just really cool.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say the shield particularly caught my eye. I like the way that they've decided to present him as a collectible, not a particularly goofy
yeah,
pose.
yeah,
And warrior. We're getting
yeah.
warrior.
Yes,
Warrior
Warrior
Jar
Jar Jar. You're right.
Jar.
And
As we
the
all know, he
packaging
is
looks cool too. Yeah,
very cool.
he is a bomb bad general, right? And this is the okay. So there's an interesting story behind this character. It's called the Incinerator Trooper, and it originated in a video game called Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, which was probably more than a decade ago. And I guess Jon Favreau had remembered it from playing the game and asked Dave Filoni if they could work it back into the because that game's not canon anymore or whatever. So they
Okay.
worked it back into the current canon in The Mandalorian. He's the character that comes into the cantina when they're all trying to escape into the sewer, and he like sets the whole place ablaze, and then Baby Yoda stops the flame with his force powers and stuff.
Oh, okay. So he was part of the Star Wars universe, faded out of canon, and then
Yeah,
thanks to Mandalorian, now he has
yeah.
official role.
And there's a lot of stuff like that they've been doing. There's that troop transport vehicle that originated as a Kenner
Inner toy.
vehicle and then has now entered into the real canon thanks to the Mandalorian and stuff. So I think that appeared in one of the cartoons as well too. But yeah, I like when they do stuff like that for sure. And then there's a new Boba Fett. This is from the Return of the Jedi version of Boba Fett. He has different color arm bracelets or gauntlets or whatever they're called, and he comes with a lot of cool accessories like the flame thrower and the cable that wraps around Luke and stuff.
Lots of little accoutrements.
Yeah, and then you got a Phase One clone trooper from Attack of the Clones, and I don't know. Yeah, it's not. This is again not something that I would
I was,
buy, but
I was gonna say Black Series, so it teases you more, but still prequels, so probably
right,
you don't end up not finding shelf space. I gotcha.
exactly.
I'm learning.
And but it, people like to build their troops. This is called like a troop builder figure. You can buy like 10, 20 of them. I'm sure Hasbro loves that, and just build out your troops of clone troopers.
That's cool. Then you have to name each one individually.
Right.
Give them all different voices, but the same
Right.
artist behind it.
So these next ones are called the Archive Collection, and this is where they re-release figures that they've done previously, so people who missed them can get them. But they also like change them ever so slightly. So if you're a completionist and you have to have every variation, you got to get them too. And the previous version of this Han Solo in the Hoth outfit, the jacket was blue. There's like an ongoing controversy since the movie came out of what
I
color
know.
his
This just doesn't
jacket
seem
was.
right to me. Yeah, I know. My understanding is that this is the actuality, that there's
Yeah.
something in the film itself that lent us to see it
Yeah.
blue. But for my eye, this just is wrong to my eye.
Right. Yeah, I think the color tinting in the film or something, color correction, turned it blue in the movie. But the prop itself is brown, so now they've made a brown jacket Han Solo. I've already got the blue version. It came with the he's riding on the Tauntaun. I love that 2-pack. I got it at Disneyland actually, and
Wow.
I don't need this one, so it's
Right?
not something. Yeah, it's not something I would buy. And then you got Grand Admiral
Ooh.
Thrawn. I think they made his face a little bit more like photorealistic for this one. They said, but I've already got the previous Thrawn Black Series, so
He has very
again,
sunken cheeks. Look at that.
yeah,
That's some amazing artistry. Wow. Although I admit sometimes I find it funny when the hand is sculpted to hold a weapon, that when it isn't when it isn't
right,
holding a weapon, it just looks so uncomfortable.
yeah.
Like,
Like, why are you
relax,
holding your hand like this? There's
relax.
and a lot of like upper, higher scale or not scale, but like just like more expensive figures. I think will come with hands that you can switch out.
Okay.
Actually, like that 2-pack that I showed you guys a couple weeks ago of Luke and Yoda, the Dagobah 2-pack. They've got different hands for Luke. So he's got like the one where he's using the Force, the one where he's holding the blaster, the one where he's holding the lightsaber. So yeah, they've thought of that now. Not, a lot of these, I think this is probably the $20 or $25 price point ones. They
Okay.
wouldn't come with all the different hands and stuff. There's Hoth Luke. Okay, so the difference with this one from the previous version is he's not all bloody on his face because the previous version came in a 2-pack with the Wampa, and it
Right?
was like after their fight, so Luke was all like beat up, and now this is, I guess, earlier in the film before he gets attacked.
I like the way that he looks, the way the legs can be positioned in such a way he looks like he's in motion. Like he has
Yeah,
there's a fluidity to his body positioning.
yeah,
It's not like straight leg, straight leg. So it's amazing to me. I
yeah.
mean, because I haven't bought, like, I had when I went from being a mom, not mom, and fun money was my money. Now fun money belongs to somebody else. So these kinds of purchases don't happen as frequently. So I've kind of lost track of how the collectible market has shifted. That's cool though.
Yeah, the articulation on the Black Series is fantastic, and I always
Yeah.
see pictures of other fans having posed their figures in certain ways, and I'm like, it never entered into my brain that you could do that. I set them up on my shelf just for display, and they're just standing there with the gun. It's not like,
You
I don't
don't
know, I'm
create
not.
entire scenes,
Yeah,
vignettes
yeah,
of motion.
exactly. Yeah, the
That's
people are
so
so
cool.
creative. Even just in posing an action figure, there's so much creativity out there. It's pretty cool. This guy is Cody, I think, Clone Commander Cody.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Very nice.
from Revenge of the Sith.
Oh,
And then people are making a big deal about this 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm logo that's on these figures, and I guess uh, I looked on Wikipedia, and technically, yes, Lucasfilm was founded in 1971. So next year, I
Wow.
guess they'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the company. Although there was like THX 1138 and American Graffiti before Star Wars, so we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm next year.
Now, have they? I know that Celebration didn't happen this year.
Yeah.
Have they said? Have they given indication that it is for sure, kind of scheduled for next year, or is that something where they, ask people to kind of stay tuned?
Oh, they officially announced the next date, but it's not next year. It's August of 2022. So mere weeks before D23
I was,
Expo.
I was just about to say, well, that's interesting given
Yeah.
D23, so that would be kind of a wow. You're going to be busy.
Yeah, that was my first thought. Because, they were doing Expo and Star Wars Celebration in the same year for a few years. Because they both, like, were alternating years, but they both ended up on the same summer. And then, like, I would have a summer where nothing happened. And then summers where it was both. And then other conventions as well, Comic-Con and stuff. And then I think they intentionally staggered Star Wars Celebration to take place this year so that it would be between the D23 expos. And then, of course, this whole crazy pandemic happened and threw everything off. And now they're going to both be on the same year again.
Wow, that's going to be busy, dude.
Yeah. You know
But
what? I can't wait.
I think my highlight though was when you guys at this Hasbro event was the holiday unveilings, because these are just hysterical to me. Now,
Yeah.
set this up in context. Is this something that Star Wars has done, like kind of had fun with themselves in this way with collectibles?
Off and on, I would say yes. There has been stuff like this, especially from Lego, because you can get the Lego Star Wars Advent calendars, and a lot of those minifigures that come in the Advent calendars will have like a crazy Christmas sweater or whatever, and there'd be like a Santa BB-8 or something. I don't know how often Hasbro has done stuff like this, but it was pretty funny during the Hasbro PulseCon live stream when they announced these. They said when they first pitched them to Lucasfilm that it was like an outright no, like they didn't want to do it at all, and they had to like change up some stuff about it or whatever, and then they represented it and they were okay with it or whatever. But yeah, I'm not sure who these are for exactly. Not something that appeals to me. I do think it reminds me of when they do like at a convention or something, they'll have like people paint props or busts or something in different crazy ways. And these are obviously just action figures that existed before, and they've
Right.
painted them to look like holiday style.
I
And
can
I think
I can totally envision some of my peers, some of my friends. I know how their houses look come
yeah.
holiday season. I can totally envision these being prized possessions that, at the end of the season, when you put away
Yeah.
your ornaments and you're putting down your tree, these will also go into that box, and then they'll find their way back out the next season.
Yeah, but
Totally.
I think there's four different troopers and then four like holiday troopers and one Santa trooper.
And
So
and they each come with like a little wintry pal. This one comes
yeah,
with a snow porg.
snow porg.
Um,
There's a reindeer Dio. There's like a penguin porg there.
and they're wearing ugly sweaters. So like this ugly Christmas sweaters. This one's like TIE fighters and the Death Star.
Hmm.
Oh, and then
Yeah, there's the Santa one.
here's the
Santa.
Santa with a reindeer with a red nose, Dio.
Yeah. Yep.
And I love how the background is the are those snowflakes. I don't know if you've ever made those, but you can find them all over the web, the templates to download so that you can cut and end up with decor for your house that are Star Wars themed snowflakes that you
No,
can
I
cut.
hadn't seen those. That's cool.
We've made a few when I used to host friends for the Disney Christmas parade. We'd sometimes use some of the Star Wars ones as well. Throw some of those in. You'd have some princesses and some Star Wars snowflakes. So
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Very interesting. Curious to see. I mean, not that we'll ever see how many of them they sold or whatever, but uh,
You'll see how many end up on your 50% off shelf, right?
that's true. Yeah. And then there was a Ahsoka Tano Force Effects Elite Lightsaber. I just did a review of the Darth Revan one last week. So it's cool to see this. And I had forgotten that there was a period where Ahsoka only had one lightsaber in the series. I guess she starts off with just one and she gets another
Mhm.
one, the second one
Yeah.
later on. So this is, I guess, just from when she has one. Although it looks like is she holding two on the box there? I don't
It
know.
I can't tell if she's holding two or if it's varying frames of.
Right, right.
It's hard to the way that the boxes kind of got the facets sides to it, so I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure.
Yeah, but these lightsabers are really well made and they have cool light and sound effects. It's just a high end kind of collectible, and
Do
they
you,
work, you know.
do you recall the price point on these typically? I don't, so
I
I'm
don't
going
remember
to.
either. I
Okay.
want to say it's like
I know your
300.
article talks about that.
Yeah,
So
it's up there. It's up there.
yeah.
That was most of the announcements from Hasbro PulseCon, and then the other big announcement came from HasLab, which is like the subdivision of Hasbro where they're doing all this experimental stuff. But these projects need like backing. They're like kind of Kickstarter esque projects where they did the giant Jabba the Hutt sail barge a couple years ago that I have
Mhm.
on a shelf behind me here that you won't be able to see because it's on the other side. But so now they have announced the Mandalorian Razor Crest ship. It's in the 3 3/4 inch vintage collection scale, but it's incredibly detailed, and I think it's actually built out to that scale. So it's the size that it would be relative to those action figures. And since we did the announcement via the stream about the Hasbro PulseCon last weekend, they met their goal, and now they're getting these what they call stretch goals, where like each additional 2,000 backers, they'll add an feature to the ship. And the first one was this escape pod that'll come out of the top of the ship like it does on the Lego set, actually, which is cool. So I think this was a feature that was built into the ship in the schematics and stuff that they got from Lucasfilm, and both toy companies have chosen to incorporate it into the toy. And they've met the goal on this, so that'll be part of it. And the next goal they're aiming for is 10,000 backers, and they're pretty close. I think they're like 1,000 away from getting 10,000 backers, and that'll mean that the child with the floating pram will be included in the ship as well on the card there, on the vintage collection Kenner card.
Wow. That's a cute figure in itself.
Yeah, and I have the Black Series vintage. No, I have the Black Series, the child in the 6 inch scale, which is very tiny, and this is in the 3 3/4 inch scale, so it's going to be even tinier than that. And you can
Oh,
see
so
this one
small.
has that little knob like permanently in his
Hmm.
hand, because if they made that its own
Right.
little piece, it would be like a grain of sand. Like
It's so
uh
small.
right. But that piece did come as a separate piece in the larger scale Baby Yoda, the child figure. But yeah, if you scroll through there, there's I think 7 different pictures of like the
The
pram
pram.
and
Oh, it can
what
open
it,
and close. That's a nice
yeah,
feature.
yeah.
Wow. Really nice. I'm waiting for more strollers to look like this because people will want to push their
uh
kid around in a.
they gotta do it, right? They gotta
Right?
do it.
It's by the way, it's funny. It's not too I'll have to send you pictures sometime because you didn't know us back then, but it's not too dissimilar from what we used to push Gideon around in, and
Yeah.
it had a little like shield on it to block the sun, but it would come all the way down. And so much like Yoda, when there was
Yeah.
things, not his name's not Yoda, much like the child, he would pull it all the way down. Too funny.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that'll be included with the ship if they get to 10,000 backers, which I'm sure they will. They still have like over a month and a
Really
week
cool.
to finish up. And then I think if they surpass 10, they'll probably add another stretch goal to 12,000 or something.
In your write up, do they specify the length and width of it? Because it seems to me like it would have to be quite large to accommodate what you're
I want to
this
say they did. I
skill.
don't remember if I included it, which I probably should have.
Yeah.
But I think they did in the press release, but I don't remember
Okay.
100% for sure.
Hey, no worries. No
Yeah.
worries.
The big question is where it's going to go
Right. Yeah.
in my apartment.
I think that's the question as collectors that we all have more and more, right?
Yeah.
For our posters and flat art, we become seasonal, rotating things, out.
Yeah.
But it's harder with the dimensional objects. We have to figure out more and more, where are we going to have space to put this?
Speaking of posters, I just bought this giant poster portfolio because I have so many poster tubes taking up space, and I was like, I have to condense all of this. So I bought this giant movie poster size portfolio. I'm going to put all my posters in there this weekend. I'm so excited about it because it's going to clear up a lot of space in my closet, and I can't wait.
I keep waiting for the day that you're looking to rent an apartment or purchase a new home, and one of its features are somehow like movable walls so that you can like display, shift things around to be able
Right.
to easily
Right.
display the amazing amount of flat art you've collected.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
anytime there's like a giveaway of a poster now at an event or something, I'm like, I don't.
oh, I just lost Mike. I just lost Mike. Well, hopefully he'll be
Oh,
back shortly.
can you hear me?
Yep, you're back. You're a
Okay,
bit stuttery, but you're back.
I don't know what happened there. I think my internet must have dropped. Sorry
Hey,
about
it
that.
happens. It
Okay.
happens. Would you like to? Let's see. What's next on? Would you like to go to talk about Dr. Aphra?
Sure. Yeah. This is a new comic book that came out this week from Marvel and Lucasfilm, and this is one of my favorite of the current Star Wars comics that's running. It's about Dr. Aphra. She's like the rogue archaeologist of the Star Wars universe. It takes place between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi right now, as all of the current Star Wars comics do, and it's just a continuation of what's been going on. They were like exploring this ancient, like abandoned city. There you go. You can see the very cool artwork there by the last name's Cresta. I don't remember the first name of the artist, but very very talented artist. And I really love the atmosphere of this comic. I love that they're like bringing it back, bringing the character back to like the archaeological roots. She's very much like the Indiana Jones of the Star Wars universe. If Indiana Jones was a little more toward like the neutral or almost sort of evil side, but
I was going
very
to say
fun.
we were introduced to her in the Darth Vader
Yeah,
series, correct?
yeah. So she started out as like Darth Vader's like new assistant. I forget why exactly he hired her, although I just listened to that audiobook like a couple months ago, so I should know that, but I don't remember. He was doing something that needed somebody with archaeological skills, so she came on, and she was through that first run of the Darth Vader comic. She was a featured character, and then they gave her her own series because the reaction to her was so positive. And this guy is like an aristocrat. He's got an interesting gimmick, this villain in the show, in the comic book, because his whole thing is he wants to be the last person to hold an artifact before he destroys it. That's like his whole like reason for
Okay.
wanting to get. It's a little bit different from like Belloc in Indiana Jones or whatever, because he actually wants to destroy these pieces, but he wants to be able to say that he was the last person to hold them,
Oh
and of
wow.
course Aphra and the rest of the gang doesn't want that to happen. So I recommend this book. It's on issue 4 right now. That's the one that came out this week. But after 6, I think they'll collect the first arc in a trade paperback.
I feel like it offers an opportunity to explore a lot of different locations
Yes.
with her kind of archaeological inklings. So one of the things that you mentioned in your article is that you appreciated a little bit more insight on Kento Bright. Sorry, always add an R, like Bright. But
Yeah.
no.
So this guy Taggy has made his base of operations on. Well, the planet is Cantonica, and then
Mhm.
Canto Bight is the city where those casinos are in the Last Jedi. And yeah, it's cool to see that location again. And also they dropped a couple references to the High Republic in this issue as well. They use an abandoned like High Republic ship to escape the like abandoned planet. So um, yeah, it's
Cool.
pretty cool that they're like planting these seeds from other stuff in the future, and then like referring back to other Star Wars stuff in the past, as they do, because everything's kind of like interwoven now in the Star Wars canon.
Do you feel like they're doing that even more now, or is it just pretty, pretty similar to how it's been?
Um, yes, more now because I think the publishing arm of Lucasfilm has gotten better at keeping everything kind of organized in the last couple years, I think. But since 2015, when everything kind of relaunched as far as the comics goes, they've been pretty good at making everything like tie into each other. But I think that's been steadily improving as well.
I know for me with reading, when I was reading a lot of the kind of post film, when that was a thing, the extended universe was a thing, because we didn't think there were more films coming.
Yeah.
That I used to start my reading with a 3x5 card, and I would write down, because there would be so many unusual names and unusual locations that would pop up in a book. But so I would like keep these notes so that I could remember as I was getting through the book kind of who these people were, because like I
Yeah.
say, the names were so unusual. I couldn't anchor them in the same way.
Right.
Luke, Leia, these are familiar. So it's just one of those things. So
That
it's
makes
nice.
sense.
I'm enjoying this kind of woven universe that,
Yeah.
if you're somebody who's visited the parks and then you pick up a comic, you can be connected to what you experienced in the park, or vice versa. You read about it in the comic and then you're like, oh, and then once again with the TV series Mandalorian, him bringing in elements from our childhood, the Kenner toy, things like this. It makes it, I don't know, it makes it a bit more personal in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a
I
good
totally
thing.
agree. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Mandalorian eventually visits Batu on the series as well.
Oh, that would be way too much fun. Or, or and then you've got all these games coming out too, that more and more are kind of tying into those worlds as well. I don't know as well the Squadrons, but the recent Fallen Jedi, was that the title? Um,
Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order. You could build
Yeah.
a lightsaber, and it
Yes.
was the same elements and myths that would surround your saber building on
Yeah.
planet 2 at the theme park. So fun.
I'll say most of the same elements because
Okay.
it's missing. I think that the bottom side of the hilts are not available, so I couldn't put that rancor tooth on
Oh
there,
no. Oh,
which
okay.
is a little disappointing. But the fact
Yeah.
that they did that at all was super cool. And that's all Matt Martin, I think, at Lucasfilm Story Group, who was, I think, the liaison between Lucasfilm and Imagineering for Galaxy's Edge, and also worked on that video game as well.
And is a fantastic Twitter follow.
Yes,
It's missing words, right?
that's correct. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
really nice guy. I've had the pleasure of interacting with him a handful of times now, and great guy to chat with about Galaxy's Edge, because I always have questions for him.
Yeah, he's very engaging on Twitter, and it's I've learned things and expanded my own universe. I actually have a book sitting on my shelf because of a conversation he and another author were having about it. So I picked it up and haven't gotten to it yet, but it's sitting right
Yeah.
there. I can see it right there on the corner of my eye.
He's a big Disney Parks fan, by the way, and he was instrumental in making DJ Rex a key part of Galaxy's Edge
Yeah.
after he was removed from Star Tours.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can talk about Squadrons, EA games. Some more details have come forward.
Yeah. So this game is coming out a mere one day from now. um, tomorrow or tonight at midnight, I guess. If you're one of those people who want to stay up that late and play this, you can get Star Wars Squadrons on your video game console or PC, And yeah, it's a flight simulator space battle game, and they put out these more details about the ranking system and the ship upgrades you can get. This is a lot of like very particular details that I haven't fully absorbed yet. I think as I play the game, I guess I'll learn more about what all these things mean. But yeah, they're talking about cosmetic rewards that you can decorate your cockpit with different things. There's like bobbleheads I saw of like
Uh,
Ewoks and stuff like that, and different things you can hang from the dash and things like that.
so
And then
truly personalize your
yeah,
battle, your X-wing,
yeah,
right? You're fighting you're an X-wing pilot in this game, right? I've got
you
that.
can be X-wing or a Tie Fighter,
Oh yeah,
Imperial pilot.
I forget. You get to choose. Okay.
Well, yeah, I
Well,
think you'll actually be alternating. Is my understanding that in the both in the multiplayer online games and in the story missions, the single player story missions, you'll be alternating between Rebel Alliance slash New Republic because it is technically after the Battle of Endor, and the Empire, which is like the Imperial remnant, basically after the Emperor's been killed, but before the Empire disappears into the unknown regions during the Battle of Jakku. But that's like that's some dorky
visiting
stuff.
their official website, the EA.com, you see that they also will have a variety of challenges. You'll have overall goals that you're attempting in order to get these points to personalize, to qualify for these rankings and these extra elements. But then they'll also have singular, like daily timed challenges as well. So it sounds like it's going to be a really dynamic gaming environment. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to see what kind of community develops around that.
Me too. I have an aversion to multiplayer online games because I don't like the pressure of it. I just don't like having
Gotcha.
to go up against or work with other people because I feel like if I don't perform well, people will like think less of me or something. I don't know.
I'm
I vastly prefer the single player experience, so I will definitely be doing that when I get the game, and I'll try the multiplayer, but I can't promise that I'll be very good at it.
that's where you have to get your pals to
Yeah,
come in with you, and you can all
yeah.
kind of muddle your way through together.
Well, maybe we should start a laughing place squadron.
There you go. We can be for people who know more about theme parks and little about gaming. Come join us.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to checking it out because the Tie Fighter and X-wing games from my teenage years were some of my favorite video games or PC games ever, and those were single player games because they just didn't have the technology back then to do like online stuff or the
I'm
internet speed. So
I'm still among those, and maybe it happened and I just missed it, who wishes that they would simply bring the Atari game that was just, those simple vector graphics,
yeah,
and just simply bring that game into a more visually appealing uh,
hmm.
experience, but not change the game, not make the game any harder. Just make it more visually
Right.
appealing than those lines, because I loved that game. I used to that was how I would stress release in college. I would play it on a PC, and which was annoying because I didn't have a joystick. So it was up and down, left, right, weird to control it. And I
Yeah.
would have under my bed, I had these enormous speakers, and I would blast the Imperial March as I would as and various other tunes from the Magnificent Score, and I would that's how I would stress release. So people knew when I needed space because they could hear the soundtrack of the score of Star Wars emanating from my room, and so they would know that I was in the midst of my trench run
Yeah.
against the Death Star.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time they released that game was. I'm sure they've done it, but it's probably the same graphics that you were used to from
Oh,
back then.
totally.
Yeah.
During in the midst, one of the first things I did when this shelter in place happened was I got my husband to help me figure out how I could get it on one of those, emulators, and so I could play it on the computer because it was like I need
Yeah.
something to anchor myself.
I actually want to say I saw at E3 last year that one of the companies we were covering was releasing just like a mini version of the full size cabinet,
Very
so you could
cool.
have that in your home.
Someday
Yeah.
I will have that in my home, and you will not see me. I will be battling Death Stars. Okay. Well, last up, kind of to wrap up today,
Yeah.
we actually participated in the El Capitan Trivia. They've been doing these events. It's a $10 entry, and this is the second one that I've participated in. The first one was just general Disney trivia, because they're a for those of you who don't know, they're a theater house in Hollywood, and are they owned by the Disney company, or they have their I don't know owned, but they
Yeah.
feature only Disney
Yeah.
films. And
Yeah, well, up until very recently, I'm pretty sure it was not legal for Disney to
right,
own
right.
that theater. But I think now it's cool. But my understanding, because I worked at Pacific Theaters for 10 years, and my understanding was that Pacific Theaters owned the theater, but Disney basically operated it for all intents and purposes.
And quite honestly, if you ever have the opportunity and are in this in the Hollywood area, it's a theater experience. It'll throw you back to what people would call like the golden age of cinema. Oftentimes they have some sort of additional entertainment element, whether it's props and costumes on display, or maybe a little show, or something. There's something that takes it beyond just your typical movie theater experience, and the seating, the beauty of the location, its history. Give yourself a chance to experience it. Plan a little bit of time beyond the movie itself, so you can really explore the theater. Because, like I say, it's one of those places that we always adored. So once those are open again, which I think they're probably getting closer to that. I know up in our area it's beginning to happen here in California. So it's an amazing place. But in the meantime,
Can I tell you a quick story? Can I tell you a quick story about it? Involves El Capitan and Star Wars, so I thought it would be fun.
Okay.
So I think I love the El Capitan, by the way. I should get that out of the way. It's like a home away from home. I've seen many movies there. I always enjoy it. Like you said, they have a great presentation. It's very state of the art right now. The projection and the sound are both great. But one time I bought a $50 ticket to the Star Wars marathon, and this is the Force Awakens one. So they would have played, I think, episodes 1 through 6, and then the Force Awakens was going to premiere. Fortunately, I had already seen it because I went to the press screening like a few days earlier or something. But I got to the marathon, and if you've ever been to the El Capitan, which I'm sure you have, I know I'm sure you have.
Many times.
The seats there are, well, it's a landmark, so they can't like change. I think they can't change the seats, and the seats are very tiny, and the aisles are very narrow. So there's not a lot of room to like walk, or it's not like a place where you can like walk through the aisles and not, or the rows of seats and not bother people and not ask a bunch of people to like stand up and stuff.
Excuse me, yeah,
And
part of excuse me.
yeah. So my ticket for the marathon was like fourth row back from the organist and in the center of the theater. And I sat down, and like 10 minutes into the Phantom Menace, I was like, I had like a panic attack because of how cramped I was in there and how I felt like I couldn't leave if I wanted to. And I just left, and I never came back.
Oh.
I missed the whole marathon because I had like this anxiety attack about that, and ever since then, if I go to the El Capitan, I make sure I get an aisle seat. Like that is the only qualification that I have to sit at the El Capitan for a movie. But yeah, that drastically changed my strategy for going there. So that's my recommendation: get an aisle seat at the El Capitan.
Well,
Otherwise, a fantastic place.
You're lucky, because when I was going to the El Capitan, there wasn't anything as pre-purchasing your
Right.
seat. You just waited line through show after show after show until there
Right.
was room for you in a theater.
That's right.
So I had to conquer my fear of such things, because I am very similar. In fact, that is one of the things that now that you can purchase tickets to the El Capitan, similarly, we make sure that we get an aisle seat for the same reason. It's an older theater, narrower seats, narrower rows. It just makes for a more relaxing experience when you don't feel like you're going to inconvenience people. I'm with you. But we had so much. I had a good time with this with their Disney trivia contest. Their hosts are very engaging. Michael and Lisa from the El Capitan. It's done through a Zoom and game playing interface that's called Crowd.live, and it's not for prizes or awards or anything like that. It's merely for bragging rights. But it's a lot of fun, and throughout the event, they would showcase various teams if you wanted to be. I had my mic off. You can see I grabbed Mike Celestino grabbed this picture while he was on, so you can see that he's taking the picture.
Yeah, you can see my Mandalorian phone case there.
Yeah, so there you go. But yeah, we had it was a there you can see they do the beautiful theater. Usually before the movie starts, the theater curtain unveiling is in itself a little performance, and they shared that before the trivia contest began, which I have to admit, the first time kind of made me tear up a little because it was just something familiar and comfortable. But it was good. It was a good time. But I will say that I was a bit surprised at the simplicity of this particular contest, just in kind of that world of Star Wars. I was expecting there to be a little bit of a level up in complexity. The Disney trivia one I'd done, it's like that to me. That's like I was expecting that to be more general audience because it was Disney film, and so you think of that as being something that you may do with the whole family. So you don't want to kind of age out kids with something too challenging or whatever. But I don't know. For me, I was kind of came into this one expecting to do poorly. And I actually did pretty well. I'm embarrassed by some I missed. I missed the question regarding who was the squadron commander on Hoth, and it's obviously Luke, right? And I said
Rogue
Wedge.
Leader, yeah, is Luke.
Yeah, and I said Wedge, which I don't know why I said Wedge, but I said Wedge. So I got that one wrong. And then another one I got wrong was actually something that isn't in the films. It's actually something that is found in other
yeah, I forgot to look up where that question came from. It's definitely not in the movie.
Yeah. I know it wasn't television. I want to say it may have been something that was referenced in a gaming platform.
Also, somebody in the chat said that it wasn't canon anymore, so that leads me to believe that it's from a novel or something that was from the Legends canon now.
And that was what was Anakin given as a gift from Obi-Wan
for his 12th birthday or something, right?
Right. I want to say 13th because it struck me as a bar mitzvah thing, thing, but it may
and the question was like in Attack of the Clones, what did Obi-Wan give? And I was like, this does not happen in that movie. So
I was perplexed, but overall, I mean, like most of the questions, I think about 80% of the audience was able to score well on. What you hadn't done one before, so this was kind of your first experience. So what were your thoughts, Mike, as coming in as kind of unwashed, having not done? Here you are.
Well, I had done the D23 Disney Parks Trivia Challenge, which I thought was really good. And was hosted by Brett Ewan. I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly, but that's how I'm guessing. And our own Laughing Place's own Jeremiah Good came in second place, and they had a ton of questions, and they were all like increasingly difficult and a lot of challenge, and you had to really like know your stuff and work your way through. It was like an endurance kind of thing. If you really knew your Disney parks, you were gonna come up in the top 10 or whatever, probably, of like however many hundreds of people played. But that's kind of what I was expecting, and I got that one was included with your D23 gold membership, I think. as far as I recall. I don't think we had
That's
to
my
pay
memory.
extra. I don't think we had to pay extra for that one. This one was $10, so
Yeah.
obviously, um, both I guess both cost something in a way, but this one was more of a you're directly paying $10 for this, and I don't know if I felt it was worth that because there were far fewer questions. I think there was a total of like 21 questions, which doesn't feel like enough for me. Like I would like three times as many questions. And like you said, many of the questions were very easy. I would say like 85 to 90% of the questions were like gimmies that anybody with a cursory knowledge of Star Wars would know. So it became mostly like a fastest finger. Whoever
Yes.
clicked the button got up in the higher ranks. And then there were a couple questions that I thought were either poorly worded or outright wrong, like the one you mentioned about the birthday present. And then also there was one that asked, who did Maz Kanata give Luke's lightsaber to on the planet Takodana? Which their answer was Rey, but Finn was another option. Uh, she certainly attempts to give the lightsaber to Rey, but Finn is the one who actually takes it and uses it on the planet Takodana. So, in my estimation, that would be the correct answer to that question. But I probably would not have asked that at all because there are like two potential answers to that question. So that got on my nerves a little bit.
Totally.
I don't know. Overall I was a little disappointed. I was expecting something more having done that D23 Disney Parks one and really enjoyed that. I wanted that but in Star Wars, and I think if that had been the case I would have done better. I ended up in 15th place. The other question that I missed, like legitimately missed, was who personally oversaw the construction of the second Death Star, and I chose to answer Moff Jerjerrod, who was the Imperial officer who was present on the second Death Star as they were building in Return of the Jedi. But there is a line in Return of the Jedi that was like, the Emperor is coming to personally oversee construction. So I'll give them that one. I definitely like missed that one on my own, and that's not their fault. So, but otherwise, like, I think you need to weed out people. I don't know, but like you said, it's more for families, I guess. It's
Yeah,
more
I was
for
gonna say, I
those
think
people sitting in their living rooms with everybody, and they can go, "Oh yeah, Luke Skywalker." I don't know, like
I
it's not for the hardcore fan.
yeah, I would agree. I think for me, I think much more like family friendly, fun for all ages. While that's listed on the movie trivia page, I think that really needs to be the specific focus. I think because for me, that's kind of what it felt like it was geared towards. Was you've got it's like, instead of taking the family out to the movies tonight, we're all
Yeah.
gonna play this game together. And so if I'd have, even though I'll admit, I did as well as I did because I would double check with my 11-year-old before I answered some of them. So just to be sure, and he was very helpful on a few I would have given the wrong answer. But it's a I still had a good time. I'm still planning on they're going to be doing another one soon. It's going to be Frozen themed. I'm not sure I'll jump in on the Frozen one, but they've also talked about some maybe Marvel and other themes.
Mm.
So I'll wait and see what, if any. They're on their website. It says until October 8th, and I think that maybe when their next one is. So I don't know if we'll see more of these in the future, but I probably would still spend the $10 and do it because I love the theater. I love the El Capitan, and right now it's like, I don't know. It's this weird thing for me. Is like, instead of a GoFundMe to make sure that theater is still there when all this is done,
Sure,
I'm
sure, of course. Yeah, you want to support them, of course.
I'm
But
happy to spend $10 and have that much fun. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
but if this was in a competitive market, I truly agree with you that for
yeah,
$10 I would expect more. But
yeah.
for right now, I'm viewing this as kind of like the bag you get when you don't, here. sponsor PBS and get this bag. That's kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of more of how I'm feeling with participating in the El Cap trivia right
I,
now.
I do want to say that I've done a lot of trivia stuff. I've been watching a lot of trivia stuff during the lockdown and participating in some. And by far the best bang for your buck is Disney Trivia Live on Laughing
Yeah,
Play's YouTube channel. You
we
know,
do have a lot of fun.
yeah.
And in case you didn't know, on Tuesdays and Saturdays, 7:30 Pacific, you'll typically find Disney Trivia Live on Laughing Place. You play, it's free. You play through the Kahoot app. You watch the YouTube stream to get the questions. The Kahoot app is merely your gamepad to answer the questions. It's we try to have a good mix so that it's not purely a fastest fingers. But for some reason, we have a participant named Geo who dominates the leaderboard. He's amazing. He actually, I actually am very proud because I managed to beat him in the El Capitan Star Wars contest. I was happy about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lot of fun with it. It's something that it's something that I pushed Doobie and Gideon to do because they're my extroverts, and I could see the isolation was getting to be a little bit for them, and
Yeah.
so I'm like, hey, do this, and very lively chats going on during it as well. Good-natured ribbing. You'll get to meet additional members of the Laughing Place crew, learn their secret talents. Mike Celestino's been an amazing part of our Disney Trivia Live fun. Also, Tony, Betty and Jeremiah. Like I say, it's been fun to have everybody join in and participate in what Doobie and Gideon have started in the midst of this. What do we call this? This unprecedented time?
Yeah, these troubled times, these dark days.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenon. Disney Trivia Live is a phenomenon. That's all you can say. Yeah.
I couldn't help it. So, Mike, well, thanks again. This was a Star Wars talk. He'll be here next week. I'm not sure who will be in studio with him because I'm going to go have a little vacation. So
Have fun, you guys.
I'm excited, and we'll see y'all real soon. Bye.
Bye.